Hello, friends. Today I'd like to talk about attachment. And it's not something that you are unaware of. And it's not something that I am unaware of. But in the last week, I realized that just a reiteration of that knowledge, of that wisdom, helped to strengthen me. So let me tell you what I'm referring to. A few days ago was my mom's anniversary of passing, returning into her heavenly home. And I realized that over the last few years, I truly haven't been able to let go of her physical presence. I know that she has gone nowhere. I know I can feel her presence around me so potently sometimes. And yet, on days like this, at times when this deep need comes up to share something with her, the grief is so raw. And that got me thinking, ruminating about attachment and how it really brings nothing of value into our lives. Over the years, whatever I have been attached to, or whoever I have been attached to, that attachment has brought me nothing else but grief or disappointment or a sense of betrayal, feelings of anxiety, insecurity, deep worry. And I'm sure you have gone through the same as well. When we are attached to an object or a subject, we are so internally scared of losing it, of being separated from it, that it often leads us to make choices that are very erroneous. Our judgments are faulty. We don't think right. We don't feel appropriately. Our feelings come from that sense, that need to hold on, to not let go. Our thoughts come from that same space. And the judgments and choices and decisions that we make, in hindsight, we begin to see how erroneous they were. And that actually led me to ruminate about the fact that you and I know so much about the spiritual space. You and I have made such strong endeavors through our spiritual journeys. But when we come face to face with an attachment that is really strong, we are unable to surrender to those teachings. We are unable to make the right choice of thought and feeling. We fall prey to the attachment. We are caught in a dilemma. We are caught in an inner conflict and confusion. And we begin to give ourselves very silly, very senseless reasons of why we should do something or should not do something, or why we feel some way or do not feel some way. And these choices and decisions and these completely silly reasons that we give ourselves, which somewhere within us we already know that they are false reasons, that they are not really valid. All of this leads to and comes from a need to gratify our senses. So, this inability on my part to let the physical presence of my mom go comes from this need to hold her, to touch her, to feel her embrace, to hear her voice, to share that very special place with her that I used to. And this is what I mean. We get attached to the object or the subject because we get attached to our senses. And that is what I saw very clearly as I ruminated in these last few days. We need the gratification of our senses. And this attachment to sensorial gratification is truly the reason why we are unable to let go. And so I kind of began a bit of an exercise for myself. What is it that I truly miss about mom's physical presence? And I realized that I miss her embrace, even more than her voice, even more than her words, which I miss. I miss her embrace. I miss just physically being with her. And this awareness of missing her embrace led me to just this very simple but very powerful exercise of self-embrace. And I'm talking of physically embracing myself. And focusing not on the attachment to mom, but focusing upon the love that I have for her, the love that we share. And breathing that love into the embrace. And you might call it mind tricks or mind games, but I truly began to feel as though I was being filled with her love. And I realized that however we may chide about sensorial gratification in this human body, I don't, and I may be wrong, I don't believe that we shall ever be able to completely give up our need for sensory gratification. Yes, I mean, if one of us reaches a state of spiritual evolution where we become like one of the sages or sadhus in the Himalayas, then yes, we could reach that. But I don't think I'm reaching that stage at any time in this lifetime. So I decided to acknowledge that yes, attachment to the senses shall remain important for me, in some areas more important, in other areas not so important, and that I would therefore not work against this but work with it, but not in a way where I am attached to the gratification where I need it from an external source, but where I shall, in a sense, train myself, teach myself to give it to me, and therefore become self-reliant, self-sufficient, self-giving, and just deepen the self-love aspect. And it is only then that I believe we can uncover our true potential. Either you completely free yourself from gratification of senses, or we learn to give to ourselves what we miss, what we are yearning for from an external source. And that kind of learning, that kind of self-teaching, I believe is a very important step for us in our journey till we reach that ultimate step where authentically we are free of sensory gratification. We are free of the need for sensory gratification. Till we authentically reach that stage, I think this step of being able to give to yourself what you need is vital. At least it is vital for me and in my journey. And I can only share with you what I am experiencing. Ruminating further about attachment. And the universe is so wonderful, isn't it? When you are ruminating, when you are thinking about, when you're focusing about a certain subject, over the days it brings you big and small incidents in your life that kind of further that self-awareness, that furthers that insight into whatever you're thinking of. And so that's exactly what happened. And as I continued to think about this, about attachment, I began to realize that one of the most important things that we are attached to, and I think this may be, and again, I may be entirely wrong, I think this is more prevalent in urban areas, in large cities. And this is the attachment to an entitled mindset. And I'm not only talking about our children who are some of them born in the lap of luxury, who have been given everything without sometimes even asking for it. I'm talking about you and I, we who are supposedly more aware, more spiritually aware, more spiritually inclined. We do have a very entitled mindset. If you truly look within, if you truly watch yourself, if you truly watch your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, and if you do this very honestly over the next few weeks or even the next few days, you will find that there are many times when you believe a certain thing should happen for you. You are entitled to a person giving you the service you think you can demand. You are entitled to the things in your life. You are entitled to your position. You are entitled to your wealth. And you'll often tell yourself, oh, I have worked very hard to attain this. I have struggled to bring into my life all these luxuries that I now possess. And so I'm entitled to that. And so we get attached to that entitled mindset. And that actually creates so much conflict in our lives. We begin to have power struggles, not only with our families and friends, we begin to have power struggles at work, we begin to have power struggles with those who work for us, because somewhere we believe I'm entitled to this. So, how did I come to this particular point in my rumination? A friend of mine was carping about how her staff refuses to come to work on time, and that the time is a certain time in the morning and she comes almost at noon and she's fed up and all the rest of it. And that's what made me see. She believes she's entitled to the staff coming in at the time she demands. And on further questioning and chatting with her, she came up with this reason that the staff member comes in late because she has a physically challenged child at home. She has to look after, she has to tend to, and then she comes for work. And she knows this reason, but she could not empathize because of this entitled mindset that she's attached to. And that got me thinking that, she's not alone in this. In different ways, in different scenarios, in different conditions and circumstances, I do have an entitled mindset. And so I'm sharing that with you, that maybe you can also undertake this self-discovery process to ask yourself, in which area do you have an entitled mindset? And when you look into that, which is what I found that those areas where I do have an entitled mindset are areas where my life brings me the greatest conflict. The disagreements, the arguments, but why not, but why, all of these kind of questions that we kind of have no real answers for, but we still struggle with them. We still continue to argue with those same reasonless reasons. They just create more confusion. And for me, that was a big eye opener. And I sat and I asked myself, Elle, how will you work through this? You've received a very significant aha moment. But what next? Now you are aware that you have this entitled mindset that you're attached to. That is also an attachment in these particular areas. What are you now going to do about it? Are you just going to stay with this awareness? Because if you just stay with that and you say, oh, I'm aware that I am entitled in this area of my life, it's not going to go away anywhere. And for me, the answer was gratitude. And the answer may be very different for you. So ask yourself that question. Don't rely on my answer. For me, the answer was gratitude. If I can be grateful for the presence of something in my life or someone in my life, and I can experience that sense of deep divine grace that has been granted to me by that presence, the entitlement for me would slowly diminish and then disappear. And and when I got that awareness, I called up my friend and I shared that with her. And I said, after our conversation, this is how I've been thinking, and this is the answer I've received. And what if you do the same? Would it work for you as well? So instead of getting annoyed and angry every morning that she hasn't come on time, again she is late. She does not respect me as her employer and all the rest of it. What if in those moments of agitation you just sit down and say, I am so grateful for her presence in my life. I recognize the divine grace in my life that such an honest, such a hard-working person has come into my life, who, despite all her own personal problems, comes to me every day without fail and really makes my life so easy. I can go out, I can work, I can do things that otherwise I may not have been able to do. And when I shared that with her, there was a silence at the other end for a few moments, and I was a little anxious if I have hurt her inadvertently. But then she said, El, you have given me a gift. Your words have reached my heart in such a strong manner that tears have welled up into my eyes. And she said, that's exactly what I am going to do. I haven't gotten in touch with her to ask her if she has or has not done, because then now it's not my, it's not in my place to ask her that. If she wants to share, she'll share it whenever. But this sense of gratitude brings to us another quality, another very positive quality, and that is humility. When we acknowledge the presence of someone in our lives, when we see how important their presence is, how significant their service is to us, there is at least there was for me, a deep sense of humility. And from this humility came a deepening of what is already present in me. There is this deep desire in me to be of service to anyone who might need my service. And truly, from that point of view, there is no task, no chore, no job that for me is too lowly for me to do. And I realized that there's so much in our lives that we are really privileged to have. And I sometimes ask myself, what have I done to deserve all of this? Have I truly done enough to deserve all of this? And the answer that comes to me is, I may not have done it in this lifetime, but that we all get what we deserve because of what we've already done in the past. This physical body is just a garb, a set of clothes that we change from time to time. But the rewards I get today are also the results of the actions of yesterday. And again, in that realization, there is a deep gratitude. But this time, the gratitude is to myself. That thank you for opening yourself up to wisdom. Thank you for being receptive. Thank you for following the wisdom that you receive. Of course, as I said earlier, there are times when we are unable to surrender to what we know. We are unable to surrender to what has been taught to us. But at most times, we are able to find that strength and that divinity within us to follow, to allow our actions to follow our knowledge, to follow our wisdom. And with this humility comes, yes, an acknowledgement of our abilities and our capabilities, but not an attachment to them. And we don't have this sense of false vanity of, oh, I have this talent, I have this gift, I have that skill. What JadeFire has repeatedly told me is that every gift, every talent, every skill, every ability, every capability lies as a potential in every single human being. What we choose to uncover is that which shall align with the current moment of our spiritual journey. I love art, and I'm enthralled when I see the classical artists, the period of the Renaissance, and I just wonder how did they paint this? How did they imagine this? How did they translate what was in their mind onto this canvas? And that's when JF had told me this. You have that ability, just as every single human being has the ability. But you have chosen to not uncover this potential in this lifetime, in this current phase, because it doesn't align with this current phase. It doesn't align with what you wish to attain in this current phase. And so, what is the point in having something which could only lead you to be egoistic, which could actually hinder your journey? And so, as a very wise soul, you choose not to uncover that. And so, out of the humility comes this freedom from attachment to our senses, to our skills, to our so-called gifts, because everyone has gifts. It's just that my gift may be different from your gift. And isn't that what the world needs? If we all had the same thing, how boring would it get? Let's assume we were all painters. We would not be able to appreciate anyone's art because it would be so common. If we were all musicians, if we were all poets. And yes, even what people sometimes tell me, are so lucky to be a medium, to be psychic, to have this gift. And first of all, I remind them that this gift, so called, is present in everyone. And that is why I have a very long, in depth course on developing your psychic abilities and developing your mediumistic abilities. And if you're interested in that, please do email me, or you can send me a message after this video, after you've seen this video, and I should be most happy to send you the details. So, even this so called gift, even this so called ability is present in everyone. But if in this current phase of your journey, it's not going to enhance your journey in any way, or if it is going to hinder your journey in any way, the universe shall not allow that to happen to you. Your higher self will not allow that. So, yes, my course is available to you. But if your higher self knows that this course is not right for you, that this aspect of developing this ability is not in your best interest, you'll be quite amazed how, in spite of your interest, you will not be able to do the course. So in certain areas, we have to surrender with faith to our higher self guidance and direction. And I understand this when JF tells me this, that sometimes unfolding an ability or a talent or a gift which does not align with your current phase of your soul journey can be actually detrimental for you. I get that, because then we start focusing, we start getting attached. That word again. We start getting attached to our success, and our ego grows from that attachment, and we really forget to do the things that we have worn this set of clothes to do. The chef wears his chef's whites and his chef's cap because it reminds him that this is my task, my responsibility, my service in the kitchen. He doesn't wear his chef's whites and his chef's cap when he's out of the kitchen, because we wear the clothes that remind us of the service we are here to give. And this body is our set of clothes. And if our ego comes in because of attaining success in an area which is really immaterial to this current phase, if that were possible, our ego would take us very far away from the reason why we have worn this set of clothes, the reason why we have come in this period of time, the reason why we have chosen to do a particular service, the reason why we have uncovered certain potentials in our lives. And all of this is so important, and none of this can be attained if we are attached to an object or a subject. That attachment comes in our way. It comes in the way of our service. It comes in the way of our journey. It comes in the way of our spiritual growth. And remember, that object or that subject may not always be outside of you. For example, the entitled mindset is something that you're attached to within you. The senses are something that you're attached to within you. The ego gratification is something that you're attached to within you. So there are certain things both within us and outside of us that we are attached to, but whether they are inside of us or outside of us, attachment of any kind brings nothing positive into our lives. Nothing. Eventually, it brings us to periods of great disappointment, great struggle, great confusion. And this in itself takes us away from the reason why we are here, in the now. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my ruminations of the last few days. Big hug.